Hello and welcome back to my channel. In this video we'll be checking realignment on my Formula Vee. These are the basic tools that you need. First of all, you need two aluminium tubes like that. These are slightly longer than the total outside width of the left to the right front wheel. I've cut grooves in them there. I've cut a center groove on the front and the rear, as you can see where I'm pointing there, and on the ends there's two grooves. Now these two tubes are equal in length and the marks are in exactly the same position, so you want to form a rectangle around your car. I use cable ties to secure those tubes onto the brackets. I use cotton rather than fish line. You can use string if you want to, a nice good steel rule. And this bracket here, I'll show you where this goes onto the front of the car. It's very simple and it can be used on any Formula Vee. I've made these extended nuts like that. They've got holes in the end which are tapped, and you'll see that that bracket fits onto the front there, and it bolts on with two countersunk cap screws. I've got a center mark there which will line up with a mark that you saw earlier on those tubes, and that'll hopefully be the center of the car. And there's that tube just laying in that bracket. I haven't cable tied it on yet, and you can see that it lines up with the mark on the tube, lines up with the cut there on the aluminium bracket. So everything hopefully will be centered and equal left to right. There are the grooves there on the right side of the car. That's the groove there where the cotton will go into that groove running down to the back. And on the back here we've got this bracket that I've made up. It mounts onto that bracket that supports that brake light. You can see there, held in with two 6mm bolts. You can see there. Now the mark on the back, I line up with the center of the selector shaft because that is the center of the car. It just gives you a baseline. It's not 100% accurate. I'll sort that out later when I come to once the strings are on. There's a groove there too where the string will go from the front to the back, and exactly the same on the other side. So the string will go from that groove through to that tube in the front there on that groove there, and that'll form that rectangle around the racing car. What I'm going to show you now is to lock the steering. I've got a steering rack where some Formula V's have a steering box, so you need to find a way of locking the steering box in the straight ahead position. Those little half moon things go into there on the rack. Okay, let's just drop in. I've just moved the steering wheel a little bit there. This other one here didn't go in, so all I did was just to swap them over. I need to mark them actually left and right, don't I? But anyhow, I took that one, put it on this side here, turn the steering wheel tight against that one slid in nicely. So my steering is now locked in the straight ahead position. You can see there. Steering wheel is in the upright position. That joint on the rim of the steering wheel is now straight up, what we used to call in the motor trade clear vision. Okay, and these two blocks support that rack on the frame. That steering rack is now centered. You can see there. And the steering arms from that position to either center of that cap bolt or outside is equal to the left one there. So when you make adjustment, you turn each one a little bit in turn so that those measurements virtually remain the same depending where your toe setting or toe out setting is. Okay, I'm just going to show you these aluminium blocks. This actually sets my castor. Those blocks are 10 millimeters thick. They're on the lower beam, part of the beam, and that gives me a castor of about 4.5 degrees. What some people do is they actually, on these two uprights that are sticking up there, I'm pointing to it now, they angle those back between 5 and 10 degrees, and that is like a built-in castor, but I use these blocks like that and it works for me, and it gives the castor that's required in the car runs perfectly as it is. So that's just an idea. Now this is showing you where the camber is set on a Formula Vee or even on a Beetle. There's shims at the top and the bottom. The top one has got very few shims in it, but the bottom one has got quite a thick pack, and it gives me my camber of 1.5 degrees. Our national Formula Vee guys, they normally fiddle around with that bush there. The bushes in the actual link pins on the uprights there are normally bored at an angle, so they get to 2.5 degrees negative. I haven't bothered with that because it's just a lot of hassle, and I'm just racing in time challenge, and it's good enough for me and it's worked for me, so I just leave it at that. I should really add weight to this car, where the nose cone is. I should load it up. I weigh about 75 kgs. Whether that's going to make much difference to the whole thing, I don't know, but I've never put weights in it and just leave it as it is. What I also do is I also measure, once a car's settled after a practice, I take a measurement from the ground to the center of that grease nipple and I record that. So that is my ride height setting, and I do the same on the back. I take a measurement from the ground there, and my finger's going to point to the top of the chassis, and I record that measurement, and that also, where that measurement is, will basically tell me what camber I'm running on the back wheels, because if that measurement is higher up, then my camber is less. If it's lower down, then the camber is greater. I'll sort of show you this bubble gauge I've got here. I use this just to check cambers. It also, you can check castor, but I've never used it because it needs to mount onto a steel rim because it's magnetized and it locks onto the steel rim. It can also do kingpin inclination there, that's measurement at the very top. I'm just holding it against the rim. It's not very accurate, but just to give you an idea how this thing works for those that haven't seen a bubble gauge. If you read there, it's on 4.5 degrees, which is way too much, but I'll normally set it between 2.5 to 3 degrees negative on the back, and as I've said before, the front is at 1.5. Let's just see if it's roughly about 1.5. Just let the camera focus there, it's steady, and it's 1.5 degrees. Okay, so that's where I set my car. Now we are going to measure from the rim to the cotton, and as you can see, we had 40 mils there. It was on the right front wheel. And we're measuring at the back of that front rim, and we're getting 35. I'll just redo it and use the enlarged function of the camera just to get it a bit more clearer so you can see. Okay, 40 millimeters there, and we'll go to the back of that front wheel, and we should have 35 millimeters as I showed you earlier on. Make sure that the ruler is square to the rim. 35, so you've got 5 millimeters towing on this side. I normally run between 3 to 6 millimeters towing. That obviously depends on what car you have. Yeah, this is how you set it. Simple tools, simple idea, very effective. Thanks for watching, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.